we came across something called Making a Murderer. And both of our ears pricked up straight away because it's a documentary. It's a real-life documentary film series of films, which was filmed over a 10-year period. And it was created by a woman called Laura Ricciardi, who I think must be a bit of a genius. Well, I believe she is after watching the 10 episodes. What's it about, Rich? Well, it's about a man called Steven Avery and his nephew, Brendan Dassey. And Steven Avery is a man from Manitowoc County in Wisconsin who, back in the mid-1980s, was arrested and charged with a serious sexual assault and attempted murder of a woman in Wisconsin. Something he didn't do, but he was basically convicted of it. He was convicted of it and he was sentenced to life in prison. But 18 years after Stephen was convicted and 18 years after he'd been incarcerated, DNA analysis basically linked the assault to another man, a man called Gregory Allen, who'd committed a series of similar crimes, not only in Manitowoc County but elsewhere as well. But what's unbelievable about this story, but it's all true, is that when Stephen was arrested for the assault, the sexual assault and the attempted murder, basically Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department, or the police, basically the Sheriff's Department, the investigators, they knew that he didn't do it. That's the whole gist of it. They knew he didn't do it. They had this guy, Gregory Allen. They'd been told about this guy, Gregory Allen. Stephen had about 20 different alibis for the time that the woman was sexually assaulted and battered on the beach. He had a number of alibis to say he wasn't even there. And this Gregory Allen guy kept coming up. But because of widespread corruption, and I have to say this, evil behaviour within the Sheriff's Department, Stephen was put on trial for it and he was eventually convicted. He spent 18 years in prison. But when the DNA analysis exonerated him and absolved him, out he came, thankfully after 18 years, still a reasonably young man. And this was back in 2000. I think he came out in 2002, I think he came out in 2002, 2003. And what he wanted to do then was he wanted restitution. Why shouldn't he? Not because the DNA analysis had cleared him, but all the evidence pointed to widespread corruption within the Sheriff's Department and nefarious behaviour beyond anything I've ever seen myself. That's me, Richie Allen, as a journalist and as a programme maker. I've never seen anything like it. They knew he didn't do it, but they stitched him up for it, okay? So Stephen said, well, to hell with that. So he and his lawyers filed a massive lawsuit against Manitowoc County and several officials who were associated with the whole arrest and charging of him the first time around. And he was asking for $36 million. $18 million for him, $1 million for every year he was in jail wrongly, and $18 million in punitive damages. $36 million. Anyway, without ruining this for you, because I want you to watch this, folks, however you bloody get your hands on it, even if you're not a Netflix subscriber, find it on YouTube, find it somewhere and watch it. Shortly after he filed this $36 million lawsuit against Manitowoc County, he was accused of murdering a woman called Teresa Halbach, a photographer who had come out to his property to photograph a car. Now, Stephen's family worked in the, how do I say this? They worked in the business of disposing of cars. They have a massive 40-acre plus bit of land and business there where they break down cars that are going to be scrapped, basically, right? But they sell cars as well, and they work on cars and they fix cars. So this woman was in the process of selling cars and buying them and putting ads in newspapers and stuff like that, Teresa Halbach. Anyway, if I said too much more about it, I'd ruin it for you because you mightn't see it. But what transpires from the time he's arrested for the murder of Teresa Halbach till the time he's convicted again. And his nephew, by the way, Brendan Dassey. And that's a whole story in its own. He was a 16-year-old kid whom they alleged had come over to Stephen's house. And when he arrived there, this woman, Teresa Halbach, was tied to a bed. And apparently, the prosecutor contended that Steven Avery and his nephew sexually assaulted a woman and cut her up very badly within a room in Stephen's trailer. They then took her outside, shot her in the head after she was dead, and attempted to burn her corpse. That's what they were ultimately convicted for, even though there isn't or wasn't or never could be a shred of evidence that Steven Avery did this crime, nor Brendan Dassey, the 16-year-old nephew. I've never seen anything like it. I've just finished watching episode 10 of Laura Ricciardi's film, Making a Murderer. It's on Netflix. And what has been done to Steven Avery and to Brendan Dassey. And I could sit here and I could tell you, because I've watched all 10 episodes, I could tell you the story from start to finish, but it would take me hours to do it by myself. How they coerced young Brendan Dassey, a young man. How they interviewed him outside the presence of his mother and outside the presence of an attorney. How they basically spoon-fed him into saying that he was in the apartment and that he took part in these acts with Stephen. How they said to him, how they manipulated him into believing that if he just admitted it, all the blame would go to Stephen. Stephen would end up in prison and Brendan would get away with it. You know, they basically said, we know you were there, we can prove you were there, we're going to get you for it, we're going to put you away for it. But if you... They were basically working on a young man with learning difficulties. And he later recanted, Brendan, everything he'd said, and said that he was basically set up by the cops in his own trial, but he was convicted anyway. And as I speak to you today, Brendan Dassey and Steven Avery are in prison. And there is an overwhelming abundance of evidence out there that shows that he was set up because he filed a $36 million lawsuit against Manitowoc County for wrongfully stitching him up and for setting him up for an attempted rape and attempted murder that he didn't commit. He spent 18 years in jail for it. Coming out of that, trying to rebuild his life again and suing Manitowoc County for what they did to him. Before he knows it, he's accused of murder. There's all sorts of evidence that a key was planted on his property, a key which allegedly belonged to the victim, Teresa Halbach. It's just incredible. It's unbelievable. I've never, ever in my life seen a miscarriage of justice like it. And I've covered so many of them before. I've interviewed William Thompson from Resurrection After Exoneration. I've spoken to men and women who've been on death row who were stitched up by a district attorney. But I've never seen anything like this. I've never seen a more obvious case of massive corruption in all my life. I cannot recommend this documentary series more. I can't say enough about it. It's on Netflix right now. I'm not urging you to spend any money with Netflix. As I said, I'm not endorsing it. But try and see this series of documentaries, because very early on next week on the Richie Allen Show, I'm going to be speaking with the family of Steven Avery. I've met online Stephen's niece Carla. Seems like a wonderful woman. And a massive growing community of people who never heard of the story, as I didn't, until Netflix put this documentary out there. Apparently Hollywood A-list celebrities are coming out of the woodwork saying they've never seen anything like this. This man needs a new trial. I believe, and of course since watching the film, I've unearthed, I haven't unearthed anything. I've seen massive amounts of documentation online, that documentation which was unearthed by supporters of Steven Avery and Brendan Dassey, which proves beyond any doubt whatsoever that evil, filthy, disgusting scumbag law officials in Manitowoc County set him up to take the blame for a murder in order to prevent him from suing them for $36 million. I've never seen anything like it. And I'm going to be getting into that on the Richie Allen Show next. So I didn't plan any of this. I didn't write it down. So if I've come across a bit, I don't know, a bit sketchy, I'm sorry. I didn't write anything down. But you can read all about it online, and as I said, if you get a chance to watch it, I've never seen a more grievous miscarriage of justice in nearly 20 years of covering news, politics and current affairs. Steven Avery, Brendan Dassey and their family have suffered immeasurably a great wrong, and I'm going to be looking into that on the Richie Allen Show next week, hoping that the Avery family do come on the show. They've said they will come on the show. We'll have to pre-record them, and we'll hear from them about what's happened to their son, their nephew, their cousin, and what it's meant for them. So we're going to be getting into that on the show next week. Look, that's it. I'm going to just bugger off now and leave you alone. I just wanted to say hello, basically. It's been a very long hello. Do stay in touch with davidicke.com/headlines. David and Andrew and the team there haven't gone anywhere. They've been working hard over the Christmas period. Terrific analysis of all the big stories on davidicke.com/headlines. And I did mention, of course, in the lead up to Christmas, that David has a new book coming out called Phantom Self and How to Find the Real One. It's going to be widely available from February/March, but if you wanted to get an advance copy, I think there are still some available. Check out davidicke.com, and I think if you do purchase one, it'll be shipped out to you in the first week. I will talk to you in 2016. There you are. I'll talk to you in 2016. That's not too far away now. I will turn 41 on New Year's Eve. I was born on New Year's Eve 1974. So I'll be 41 this New Year's Eve. That's in a couple of days' time. It did occur to me to let you know that if you haven't supported the Richie Allen programme before, you might do that on my birthday. You might send me a wee birthday present and support the show by going to richieallen.co.uk. On there are details on how to make a donation via PayPal or via even my bank account. So that's richieallen.co.uk. Send me a birthday present. Doesn't matter what it is. It's all good, and it all goes to keeping this programme, your programme, on air, ongoing through 2016. So again, to everybody at davidicke.com, to our friends, to all the great men and women in the alternative media, in the independent media, making programmes like ours and contributing to programmes like ours, to you for listening, to our sponsors, to everybody, to Aaron, to Simon, to Mark Bajerski, to Jean-Anne Crowley, to everybody who's really impacted on this programme, to Jay O'Rourke. How could I forget Jay? I'm going to stop now because I'll forget people and I don't want to forget anybody. But everybody who's been very supportive of the Richie Allen Show throughout 2015, I will never forget you. Have a wonderful New Year's celebration. Happy New Year to you and to yours. And I cannot wait to talk to you on Monday, January the 4th. What did I do there? That's Monday, January the 4th, when I'll be back at 8 p.m. with the Richie Allen Show live. Look after yourselves until then. And thanks for listening to this little bit of a kind of a mini hello, how are you? That's all I can describe it as. Until then, until next week, Happy New Year. Bye for now.